Alright, a little mess up there, but what's going on, Big Blue Nation, and welcome back to the BBN Report, where we talk all things college football and basketball. And tonight we have the playoff rankings, and I'm actually really excited to see where these come out, because this is the first time I've done a reaction to the rankings since the very first rankings that were released. And I think after a pretty crazy rivalry weekend, that this would be a really good time to do so. We had, very surprisingly, Michigan just absolutely thumped Ohio State over the weekend, which I think that was a big time surprise for everybody. We had Alabama and their overrated selves struggle on the road at Auburn, which normally, I personally think the Iron Bowl is the best rivalry in all of college football. And I say that year in and year out. But seeing Alabama, now granted, Alabama has struggled all year long. You know, that's been a discussion of mine for a while now. Alabama has struggled to win games against LSU, Florida, Arkansas, lost to now a 4-loss Texas A&M squad, and then over the weekend struggled with a 6-win Auburn team at third place with a backup quarterback. Now, if there's no way, in my opinion, that Alabama's going to come out 2 tonight just because Ohio State lost. I personally believe that Michigan should go number 2. We'll see about that, but I think it does set up a very interesting SEC championship game this weekend. The real question is going to be, who comes in at number 4? Does Cincinnati stay at number 4, or are we going to get Oklahoma State at 4? That'll definitely be something that remains to be seen. So we'll see how that all works out. But like I said, I figured this would be a really nice thing to do, considering that I haven't done a reaction to the rankings since the very first rankings that came out. And with the kind of weekend that we had, I figured this would be a really good time to do so and just get my overall opinions on the matter of how these rankings come out. Now, but before we get to that, I've had quite a bit of, if I could talk here, coaching shakeups around the country. You know, with Lincoln Riley heading out to USC, which I personally take that move as he was on. Oh, we're starting with the rankings here. I'll get back to that point here in a little bit. But Texas A&M. Oh, Texas A&M fell all the way to 25. I'm happy to see my Kentucky Wildcats back in at 23. It's definitely kind of surprising to see. Houston at 21. I think Houston and Cincinnati might be the game to watch this weekend. One of the games to watch this weekend. I think Houston does have a chance to beat Cincinnati. Arkansas at 22 there. But, Clemson jumping up 3 spots there. Wake Forest all the way up to 16. Well, that's only 2 spots, but that's a championship game I'm not that interested in this weekend. The ACC one just doesn't interest me too much. But I don't think we're really seeing anything that's really shaking anybody's fancy here. You know, I don't think anybody's really surprised by anything you're seeing here. Now, I got a question for you guys. You guys can comment down below. Do you think these morons at ESPN actually believe that we don't think that they've seen the rankings? They always say that, oh, you're seeing the rankings as soon as we are, same time we are. Do they think we're that stupid that we think that they actually seen the rankings at the same time? They got all their talking points right after. But Oklahoma down to 14 there. That's not really that much of a surprise. Maybe dropping 4 spots maybe is a little bit of a surprise. We knew they would drop after allowing Oklahoma State to come back late in that game. But Iowa up 3 spots, setting up I think it'll be a surprising Big Ten title game between Iowa and Michigan. Speaking of which, later on, either try to have it up Thursday. My prediction video for the college, the conference title games this weekend. I think that'll be a nice little video, because I haven't done a full weekend preview for college football on this channel yet. So I think it'll be something to do for championship week. But Michigan State 11, BYU 12, Iowa 13, Oklahoma 14, Pitt 15. Number 10, Oregon. Yeah, they're not wrong there. Oregon did get raced out pretty quick there when they played Utah. Still not sure how I want to bet that game this weekend. I definitely think Oregon will be out, fired up, ready to play that game. Especially when you got trashed there a couple weeks ago by Utah. Baylor falls a spot to number 9.
Season, amazing turnaround for Dave Aranda. That's why he was linked to every job in America. Are they still in it a little bit if chaos ensues? Baylor hanging there at 9. Obviously, they're going to play Oklahoma State, we know who's going to be in the top 6. So maybe the Bears still in this thing.
I think they are. I'm a little surprised to see them slip the spot. So it does give me pause about what would happen if the right set of circumstances came together and the Bears were able to.
My prediction for 8 is going to be Ohio State. It's not up yet, but I think number 8 is going to be Ohio State. Ooh, Ole Miss actually. Ole Miss went up 1. Kind of surprised by that. That means Ohio State must be 7 then. Great. Who at the beginning of this season saw Ole Miss going 10-2? I definitely did not see Ole Miss going 10-2. I think that's definitely one of the biggest surprises in the SEC. We knew they had an elite quarterback, but going 10-2, I think was definitely a big surprise to see. Even if you're a diehard Ole Miss Rebels fan. If I remember right, isn't that the first 10-win season in Ole Miss program history? Which is kind of surprising, that considering that even UK here has multiple 10-win football seasons in our program history.
He's still the head coach at Ole Miss as we speak. At number 7.
Ohio State number 7, dropping 5 spots. That's not much of a surprise there to anybody who watched that game there Saturday. Michigan absolutely dominated that game for 3.5 hours. And what was even sad about that game, I think Michigan only threw the ball 1 time the whole second half, and they were literally lining it up and just running it down Ohio State's throat every single play. It just didn't matter in the second half. And Haskins was amazing in that game as well. You know, he had 5 touchdowns there. It still shocks me that Ohio State never once ever stacked the box or anything like that against Michigan and played man coverage on the outside. But we're having a little bit of a lull here before the top 6 are revealed. I'm going to pause this video, and I'll get back to you guys when they come back to reveal the top 6. And we'll get my thoughts on the top 6 whenever they start to reveal those teams. Should be very interesting to see how this top 6 does get revealed. I think it'll definitely be a surprise. I'm really curious to see where Michigan lands and where Alabama lands. So I'll check back to you guys in a minute with that. As I'll pause this video here. Alright, we are back with the top 6 here. Obviously, number 1 is the Georgia Bulldogs. They're the best team in the country. Everybody knows that. Number 2, Michigan. I'm actually happy to see that. I think Michigan definitely deserves that number 2 spot after the way they just thrashed the Buckeyes over the weekend. So it's definitely a nice thing to see that the committee actually rewarded that, especially when you blow out the number 2 team. Not to mention it saved Harbaugh's job this year. So Alabama stays at 3. It's kind of surprised by that. this committee's proven time and time again. Now, I'm not an Alabama hater or a Nick Saban hater. I'm actually a huge Nick Saban fan. I've actually thoroughly enjoyed watching Alabama games under Saban. But I thought they would actually probably move up to 2 because the committee's proven in the past that they do love Alabama. So at number 3, I still think it's way too high for Alabama. I still think they're ranked entirely on their name at this point and what Saban has done there. Their offensive line's not good. Their quarterback is not good under pressure. Their defense is very shaky week to week. You know, like I said, every time you pressure Young, he ends up wetting his pants and overthrows receivers. He's just not that good under pressure. You know, granted, Alabama's young. You know, they're a young team this year. And, you know, they're not going to win the national championship this year. They're going to get beat Saturday to Georgia. And, but next year, you know, you get a year older. Those kids at Alabama might win the national championship next year. It's kind of been the MO. Alabama winning a championship every other year. But like they're just not. I just don't think Alabama has it this year. They've squeaked by so many teams, and to me, I think that number 3 ranking is a joke. And not only have they squeezed by teams, they have squeezed by mediocre at best teams. Cincinnati at 4 remains at 4. That's not much of a surprise there. With their game coming up with Houston this weekend, I think that's actually going to end up being a really good game. I would tune into that one if it's not on your radar. Oklahoma State up to 5. That's probably deserving after they beat Oklahoma. And then Notre Dame at 6. You know what? There's actually... I'm okay with these rankings. I think between some of the chaos that has... I think Notre Dame might be a tad high, maybe. But with all the chaos that's happened, I think that's right. I don't really have anything to really complain about. My complaint was going to be if Alabama jumped Michigan and went to 2, and you only put Michigan at 3. That's going to be a big complaint of mine. It's like I've said before, and I think that I've said a couple weeks ago, it was time to, I'm going to mute the TV real quick. But it's like I said a couple of weeks ago, it was time to admit that Michigan had a very good team. And I said that after their win over Michigan State. Now, granted, coming into this season, this was a season I don't even think the most optimistic of Michigan fans really had much to, go on this season. There was a lot of turmoil over in the offseason, a lot of people transferring out. And it was just not looking good for Michigan going into this season. I even think some of the sports books out in Vegas only had them at 6.5 wins on the season. Some all the way up to 7.5 wins. So Vegas wasn't looking too highly on Michigan this year. But they go out. They've restructured Jim Harbaugh's contract in the offseason. They came out this year. And they really outdone all the expectations you could ever have for Michigan this year. Obviously, because they are in the number 2 spot right now in the playoffs. And if they win Saturday, they're obviously going to be in the playoff, which I think they will defeat Iowa this weekend. I just don't think Iowa has enough offense to beat the Wolverines. But like I said before, it's time to admit that this team was good. I said that after the Michigan State game, after they came back to beat them. And then they really came out and solidified that statement over the weekend with that thrashing of Ohio State, who was ranked number 2 last week. So I definitely think that number 2 is deserving. You just don't blow out a number 2 team and stay behind somebody who skated by and got lucky in 4 overtimes against a depleted Auburn team with a backup quarterback. But there, you got, like I said, you got Alabama at 3, Cincinnati at 4, Oklahoma State at 5, Notre Dame at 6. And I'm actually really okay with this top 6. I don't have any complaints about it. I'm actually really excited for that Cincinnati-Houston game this weekend. Obviously Alabama's going to be eliminated this weekend. They're going to fall out of contention when Georgia absolutely beats the absolute will to live out of Alabama this weekend. But overall, you don't get to hear me rant or anything. Sorry to disappoint there. But like I said, I'm kind of disappointed that I don't get a chance to rant or anything like that. And I actually kind of agree with it. But I figured I would go ahead and do one of these because I haven't done a reaction to the rankings since, I think the very first one is the only reaction I did to the rankings on this channel. Mainly because the rankings have been coming at the same time Kentucky's been playing basketball games. So I've been watching that, not the rankings, and making a video for it. But figured go ahead and get it uploaded up for you guys. And either tomorrow or probably not tomorrow, but probably Thursday evening or Friday morning, I will have a prediction video for the conference championship games this weekend for the Power 5 teams. Well, the Power 5 conferences, I mean. And I'll just go ahead and we'll go ahead and comment down below if you think my comments about Alabama are crazy or Michigan's crazy, or what your predictions are for this weekend's games, and I'll go ahead and I'll catch you guys in the next one. As I turn this off here.